welcome to our presentation, everyone. Don't hesitate to shoot your questions over. As you can see, Brandon is checking them, and we'll make sure that we have an opportunity, again, for questions and answers at the end. I will do my best to keep things moving along here with this presentation, as I know it's not necessarily easy to be stuck in front of screens all day long and then have to do it in the evening as well. So again, my name is Christopher Kilgore. I'm the Tribal Programs Manager for the Information Technology Academy. We're housed in the Department of Information Technology at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. Our program specific to the tribal sites in Oneida and both Lac du Flambeau is a remote and typically remote and in-person course delivery. So we see our students partially throughout the year, and then the vast majority of our work is done virtually. Obviously, as you can expect, the vast majority of our presentation tonight is going to somehow be qualified by saying, typically when we're seeing each other in person, it will be this way. Everything that we're doing currently is done virtually, obviously due to our current status. So I would just like to make sure, again, if anybody has questions along the way, please don't hesitate to send them to us in the chat, and I'll make sure that we have our time to answer those questions as we go. So as I was saying, we're located in Madison, Lac du Flambeau, and Oneida. The two tribal communities in Oneida and Lac du Flambeau are slightly different, which is why that question was a good one as far as whether the presentation is going to be the same, and we'll talk about that as we're moving forward. So next slide. So the question is, why do we do what we do? Why does the staff who you saw introduce themselves, and many of our other staff members throughout Information Technology Academy and all three sites, why are we involved? And then as importantly, why should students get involved? And as you can see on the screen here, this picture is exactly why we do what we do. This is a picture of our graduation cohort. This is all three of our sites combined, Madison, Lac du Flambeau, and Oneida. This is their graduation ceremony through ITA. We have a big graduation ceremony at the end of every year for our seniors who are graduating out of the program. And as you can see here, these students all got together. We have typically, again, in our face-to-face modes, we have a face-to-face gathering. We actually did our first virtual graduation last year, and chances are we're going to be again doing it this year. But we do indeed hold a graduation ceremony and honor all of the work that the students have put in during their 3 years with our program. And that's ultimately why we do this. We do this to see our students succeed. We do this to help our students in exploring what it is that they want to do as they move forward, looking at college and looking at what the future holds for them. So this picture literally encapsulates exactly why we are all here and why we do what we do. It's to see our students continue to excel. Next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit grade by grade what the expectations are and what some of the activities or some of the classes that our students are involved in. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Nino now, and she'll describe a little bit about the technology at the 10th grade level.
So when our students first get into the program, we'll do a 2-week camp called Many Uses of Computer. We will explore a wide range of computer topics, anywhere from digital media, general uses of computer, software, design components, troubleshooting, coding. We introduce them to anything that we can. We also go into photography and video editing, which is a highlight for a lot of students. And that sets them up for our school year, which is multimedia design, which covers 3 main design components. So graphic design, audio, and web design. So they do 3 big projects and they code. They get to use their expertise that they learned from the summer, because they gain even more insight by helping our upperclassmen during their intro to video production camp. So it's a wide range of different intro topics during their first year.
Thank you for that, Nino. And then Deanne, would you like to talk about the academic support?
Yes. In addition to the technology training, students do go through academic support courses which not only help them become a better student, but help with leadership skills, being a good person, how to communicate and I guess, interact with others. So with academic support, you work on life skills and team building, study skills, and leadership. Next slide.
So once our students get into 11th grade, their summer will begin with video production camp, which introduces them to the filmmaking process. So from conceiving an idea to writing a script, to directing, to editing, to putting their film to us to watch. They go through the entire process. They develop their own individual projects. And then once their summer is over, they'll do their school year, which will be computer systems and programming, which will focus heavily on coding, things like Eclipse, Python, and many other things. They'll explore Scratch, and they'll get to even write their own codes.
For the academic side of things, the junior year for ITA students is an opportunity for them to look forward and kind of gauge, where they want to be in the future. It's heavily focused on career development, team building, and ACT prep. The ACT prep course is both semesters, it's year long, and it virtually preps them to take their ACT within the ITA program and also through their high school. Next slide.
So once they are seniors, they will start their summer with tech startups, which is an opportunity to develop tech skills and business skills. Students will think of a problem that they see in their community that they want to solve. They will then come up with a technology-based solution, and they will create a prototype of their solution and then pitch it to us like a competition, like Shark Tank style. And from there, one team wins, but it's a real highlight for them. And they use this to start their senior capstone project, which is a year-long course where they will be working on their own portfolios. So this is where they get to show us what they learned with us and use it in the future, whether it is for college or for a job. They get to create 3 individual projects of their choosing in order to showcase any of the skills that they've learned with us.
And on the academic side of things, incoming seniors, they do have a 2-week-long internship, which I like to really get them involved within the Oneida community. And each student is, given the opportunity to think about where they want to be placed, what type of, business or what type of community area or service area. So we do a really good job, placing our students within the Oneida community and the surrounding Green Bay communities. In addition, there is college prep, which is a year-long course, and it's basically getting them ready for the application process, working on letters of recommendation, working on essays, and, kind of like walking with them hand in hand through the whole application process. College life is really, the students are kind of put into the moment through senior residential experience of what it's like to be a college student. What are their expectations? What can they, expect being a college freshman in a different town, a different area, different cultural views, different society views. So, that kind of gets them prepped for that first year in college. And lastly, with financial literacy, it helps them with scholarships, how to control your finances, because being a college freshman and having to control your finances is not as easy as one would think. We kind of monitor our children for, majority of their life in terms of their finances. So when they get to college, they have the opportunity to really be out on their own. So we really want to get them prepared for, making good, smart decisions regarding the financial literacy. Next slide.
What you're looking at now is a series of slides giving an example of what a senior capstone project looks like. This is one of our former students, Jennifer Zhang, who put together a digital portfolio. Jennifer is an amazing artist, both with actual physical artwork, drawing and painting and that sort of thing, and also does music and a whole variety of other things. And so Jennifer chose to put her portfolio together in such a way that again, anyone that wanted to know anything about, for instance, her artwork, her compositions, her music, and kind of it also has her resume on it. Somebody can literally go to her personal website and get that information directly from there. And so this is the kind of thing that, again, is transferable. It's not specific only to the work that you're doing with ITA, but as all of ITA's work is designed, it's something that is a transferable skill that you can take along with you. So again, to the point that was made earlier about the senior capstone work, the students actually work on creating a project that they work on all year round. And at the end, they have this digital portfolio as part of their work that they can take with them moving on to the college setting and onto their work. Next slide, please. So there's a lot of ongoing resources for our students. Again, as you all know, the application process for our tribal sites starts the spring of your freshman year. You apply for the program. This is why you're looking at our presentation tonight to find out more information. We'll have some more specifics about the timeline coming up here. But once you're in the program, there's just a significant amount of resource that we put towards making sure that our students have what they need throughout the time that they're with us, throughout the 3 years that they're with us. We have a tutoring session that Deanne sets up during the school year, and it typically runs every Wednesday. And I think that Deanne's going to be working on a couple of other options because we do have tutoring sessions now set up for all 3 sites that students can drop in on. And during our summer months, when we would typically be meeting for camps, we also then, like Deanne was saying, do an internship program. Now, again, with the times the way they are, internships are not necessarily as easy as they had been for arranging students with hosts. However, what we're in the process of doing right now is trying to create a digital internship, if you will, that will allow students to connect with intern hosts digitally, and they can do some of the work that they would normally be doing in person virtually. So we'll be giving updates as time progresses this spring for what the summer is going to look like with that. Again, if we were able to do some meetings in person, students have the opportunity, either their junior or their rising before their senior year, to go to Silicon Valley in the spring. That's a trip that students take leaving from Madison, heading out via airplane, so taking a flight out to California to Silicon Valley. And Brenda, if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit more background about the Silicon Valley trip, since you're one of the ones that tends to go out on that trip.
But in Silicon Valley, we take a group of 15 students. They have to apply to go to the trip. And during the trip, we are with them the entire time. And we get to visit a lot of different companies like Google, Cisco. Oh man, now I keep forgetting all of the ones, but we rotate them. We go and see all of the different places that technology happens and give them a little sense of what it would be like for them to continue with technology and technology training and the places they could possibly go and apply and work for. So it's a pretty cool trip. We also have lots of fun. We go on Segway tours and just visit downtown San Francisco. So it's a really fun trip. And there are scholarships for those students who want to go but can't really afford it. There's scholarships available. You have to apply to those as well. But it's a really fun trip, and I encourage all students to apply regardless of what their plans might be, because you never know. You could be one of the students who are selected to go.
Thanks for that, Brenda. So the next thing on the list here is spring conference. And every year in the springtime, typically in April, our students would come down to University of Wisconsin-Madison's campus, stay on campus for a weekend, coming down on Friday and leaving on Sunday. And we do a lot of field trips. We do a lot of interactive activities on campus and surrounding campus areas. There is a little bit of work that we dial into that as well, but the main goal is obviously to give students the opportunity to explore campus and campus life in the Madison area in the process of considering University of Wisconsin-Madison as one of their options. That is a trip that, again, is very dependent on whether or not folks are meeting for things in person, obviously, but if indeed that trip does wind up happening, our typical schedule is students get picked up on an early Friday morning via coach bus in our different communities between Lac Flambeau and Oneida. Students are then bused down to campus in Madison. We stay in hotels with chaperones in the Madison community nearby campus, and then students are bused home at the end of that weekend on Sundays. Senior residential experience. I can say this is one of those things that for the seniors, they say this is probably one of their favorite parts of our program. And it's a 1 week kind of immersive experience of what it is to be a college student. And there are just a whole variety of activities. Again, this is, there's kind of 2 tracks right now, with one in person and one virtual, depending on where we are by summertime. But either way, students are doing college exploration. They're working on their applications. They're learning about financial aid from a college perspective. They're also speaking to other individuals, graduates, many graduates from our program who go on to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and they can talk firsthand about what that college experience is like. We do visit various spaces on campus that have a lot of really cool technological connections within the university system and surrounding communities. And most importantly, it's an opportunity for students to get to know one another at an even deeper level and get to know themselves at a deeper level. And like I was saying, that is typically voted one of the best experiences our students have throughout the time that they're with us. Next slide. So I get involved. I mean, these bullet points kind of speak for themselves, but I'll talk a little bit in detail about kind of an amalgamation of all of them. You gain valuable technology skills. Many students come into our program already having a lot of tech skills. If you pick up a cell phone nowadays, you have to have some tech acumen anyway. You got to be pretty savvy with that thing. But we want to make sure that students are basically ahead of the curve when they get to the college level when it comes to technology. Instead of having to learn how these things work, how these programs work, how to create websites, how to do spreadsheets, how to make movies, how to do any kind of multimedia type of activity, you've already got those skills under your belt when you get into the door at the university. And so you're then using those skills and creating amazing projects and being able to do things that many other students, quite honestly, coming into the university setting, don't have the skills to do when they get there. One of the other things, obviously, we want to make sure we do is to give students as much academic support as possible. And one point that I wanted to make sure I continue to kind of remind folks of is, with our academic support, we're not just talking about the work that's being done within ITA. We're also talking about the work that's being done in your regular high school. So with our tutoring sessions are designed to not only answer questions about your ITA work, but as importantly, to answer questions about what kind of things you're running into with your regular high school work, math, science, history, those types of things. And so we want to make sure that this is a kind of a full spectrum support system when it comes to being in our program. So you're not only getting these extra skills and getting support with those, but you're also getting support with what you're doing in your regular high school setting. Lifetime friends. I can tell you firsthand that our students who connect with one another within ITA stay in touch with one another. And I'll tell you, one of the first and foremost examples for me and for our students is many of the folks that you met earlier in our presentation who introduced themselves, who have not only gone through the ITA program as high school students, but then came back to the ITA program as college students, as instructors, and now currently work for ITA full-time as full-time staff since they've graduated college. Ninoska and Brenda are 2 of those examples, and I want to really make sure I point that out. So you're talking about upwards of 10 to 12 years of being with ITA, starting at a high school level and now working as a full-time employee after graduating college. So you do indeed create a lifetime of bond with the students and the staff. I mean, oftentimes I get emails and phone calls and texts from students long after they've graduated. And in many cases, it's for letters of recommendation for jobs, but it's also just to give people a check-in on what folks are up to in the real world, so to speak. So while you're in our program, students are each given a laptop when they start our program. That laptop is loaded with all of the hardware and software that you'd be needing to use during your time within our program. This computer is designed to be used, obviously, for all of your ITA homework, but it's also something you can use for your schoolwork. And these are new computers, so we want to make sure that they're fast enough and powerful enough to and have enough memory to do not only all the work that you're going to need to do with us, but also to make sure that you can use it for everyday use when you're in school. And oftentimes students will also ask, can I watch YouTube and things like that on it? And yes, you can. We do have some extra software on there to help you out as well. But obviously it's designed, everything that we do is designed to help students succeed. If you are a successful, if you successfully complete our program within ITA, and you are indeed accepted to the University of Wisconsin-Madison after you apply, there is a 4-year academic scholarship waiting for you as part of the People program. So you'll be an ITA student while you're in our program with the 3 years in your high school. And then once you've graduated our program, if you're accepted to UW-Madison, you become a People Scholar. And as a People Scholar, you have a 4-year academic scholarship waiting for you. Now, there are questions if folks say, well, what if I decide I don't want to go to college right away, but I complete the ITA program? Or what if I decide I'm going to go to a different school and then I want to transfer to UW-Madison? And my answer to you is this: if you complete our program successfully and then either decide to take time off, decide to go to a different school, and then eventually apply for and are accepted to UW-Madison, that scholarship is still waiting for you. So it's waiting for whatever remainder of your undergraduate degree you have. So if you do a year at a different school and then transfer into UW-Madison as a sophomore, well, then you have an academic scholarship for your sophomore, junior, and senior year. So it's a pretty valuable end result as being an ITA graduate as an option. If you decide you don't want to go to University of Wisconsin-Madison right away, you still have those options of going there and having that scholarship, remaining scholarship waiting for you when you get there. People always say, okay, that sounds great, but how much does it cost? And the answer to that is our program as a participant is free of charge. Everything that we do, we want to do to help the students succeed. And in that process, it seems kind of counterintuitive, if you will, to have students pay for a system like this. So your job as a student and your entry fee, if you will, as a student, is to apply. And I'll talk about what that means. And then once you're in the program, to do the work. And that's what our expectation is of students. So the only extra costs that any time students would incur, and again, like Brenda was saying, there are scholarships available for that as well, would be if you decide you want to go to Silicon Valley. And there is a little bit extra expense for that, as it is an outside trip from our normal coursework. But again, there are scholarship opportunities for that. We can talk to you about that if you're interested once you're in the program. So really our ultimate ask from students who are in our program, your commitment is doing the work and staying involved and staying invested in getting the work done. So next slide. So this is the commitment we were talking about. What does that mean? Well, again, the application process is going on right now, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. So once you apply, you would be interviewed. And once you're interviewed and if you're accepted into the program, your commitment is as follows. You're going to be with us for 3 years. You'd be starting this coming summer, and you'd be going through summer programming. And then, like we were saying, we have summer programming for our students, which is kind of your introduction, the first year to ITA and what that means and what your program is going to entail in between their technology and your academic classes. Then in the fall, during school semester, fall and spring, you would be participating mostly virtually. So there's, like I was saying, there's a 2-week summer institute. And again, the 2-week summer institute is typically when we're meeting face-to-face. There will be an online component to this if indeed we are unable to see you personally this summer. And then that will be kind of spelled out as we get closer to that time. And then throughout the year, the school year, there's cohort weekends. And typically the cohort weekends are once in mid to late September, once in early November, once in February. And those are 2-day sessions when we're meeting in person, Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And again, if indeed we're doing that virtually, that would be, there would be a course launch date that students would be participating in virtually, but then the majority of your work will be done online. Again, spring conference that we talked about before, after our cohort meetings, students would come down in April every year to stay with us on campus for a Friday and Saturday evening, and heading home on Sunday. So be with us Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And again, I spelled that out a little bit, and we'll talk more about that once folks are involved in the program and what that entails. Homework. Every time people say that H word, everyone starts to cringe. We do not assign a lot of homework. It's typically an hour per class per week. So that means an hour of tech and an hour of academic each week. Oftentimes that homework is less than an hour. And the really nice thing about that homework, it's given to you online. It's typically released at the beginning of the week, and then it's not due until midnight or 11:59 on Sunday night. So you have all week to do it. And that can be a blessing and it could be a curse. For students that are good at getting homework done and can kind of stick to it, that's really quite nice because you can do it whenever you want. For students that need to continue to be reminded about it, then that's one of those things that we always recommend. You get it done right away, so you don't have to worry about it at 11:59 on Sunday night. But again, we don't want to try to pile a ton of extra work on top of our students during their regular school years, because we know you have a lot of homework regularly with school. But the homework that we have and the homework that we assign is designed to help you with what else you're doing at high school level, but also what else you're going to be doing at the college level. So it's all designed to help. And then, like I was saying before, we have the 1-week senior residential experience. Students come down to campus, stay on campus in the dorms for a week. You get that college experience, learning about what college entails, learning about college applications, and then some of your possible tracks of study, talk to other students who are at campus level already. And it is really a lot of fun, Our other requirement as far as attendance is concerned, we expect that students are at a minimum of 90% attendance. And we ask that you complete all of your assignments. And what that means is you need to attend the meetings, whether they be virtual or in person, and you need to get your work done. The assignments that you're given, we expect that they get done. And as far as your schoolwork is concerned at the high school level, we would like everyone to maintain a 3.0 GPA minimum by senior year. This is not a bar that we set and just say, good luck, have at it, and walk away. Again, our goal is to help you achieve that goal or better by the time you reach your senior year. So again, we're working with you, and between our tutoring sessions, our what we call student hours, where students can drop in and meet with our instructors, and all of the work that our support staff do, not only our instructors, but as specifically in the Oneida community, what Dion does to make sure that you're all caught up and stay caught up. We really want to do what we can to help you succeed. Next slide. All right, online coursework. I'm going to pass this over to you, Dion.
Well, first off, I'd like to say that there is a vast amount of flexibility with students with their ITA coursework, because we do know you are current high school students, and we want to see you excel not only in the ITA program, but your high school classroom as well. There will be deadlines for each course assignment, but we also, understand that, sometimes life just happens, and, if extensions are needed, we do what we have to do to make sure that, we see you succeed. That's our main goal here, is to help you succeed in each and every endeavor that you choose. So one of the two strong, disciplines of ITA students is self-motivation and to have actual discipline. When Chris had mentioned that, it's about 1 hour per week per class for homework, and a lot of the times it doesn't even reach that hour threshold. So, to be able to manage your time wisely, which is, discussed in one of your academic classes, and to, motivate yourself to get the things done that are needed. Next, need a place to be productive. A lot of times, we as parents are always telling our children, shut off your phone, turn off the TV, find a quiet space, kind of get into a routine to promote that, that healthy work environment that will enable you to, get the things done that you need to get done. Next would be comfortable with reaching out for help. My job within ITA is to help each student succeed. So, I like to communicate with students very often because I want to know what's going on in their world. If they need help, that's what I'm here for. If I don't know what's going on, then I can't help. So I really like to stay, up to date with each student with, what's going on in life, what's going on in high school, what's going on in the ITA program to, to better serve them, because in the end, I want you to succeed. Lastly, get it done early. Maybe this is just like an American's point of view, but we find ourselves procrastinating a lot, not only, within our high school years, but in adulthood. So we really want to hone in on being able to, make a strong base to eliminate the procrastination, get things done so you don't fall behind. And so we try really hard to, encourage students and to, not really stay on them, but, just to kind of be on their shoulder, whispering in their ear, hey, don't forget that assignment due Sunday, it's Saturday, 10 o'clock at night, so in the long run, we just want all these students to succeed and to be the best, student and human possible. Next slide. Chris, you're muted.
I don't know why there's such a delay. I got to hit this button twice tonight. So we talked a little bit about the senior residential experience already. It's 1 week residential camp on campus down at the university. This is one of those moments where parents or family members or guardians will need to give the student a ride to campus if indeed we are meeting on campus. But again, that's something we talk about when we get closer to that senior year for our students. The bottom line is that this is kind of the culmination to prepare students for that last year of being in our program, but also obviously the last year of high school. And it's really an amazing experience. Students are kind of going from 8 in the morning until later in the evening. But again, everyone says that this is a great experience, and there's a lot of information that students receive in preparation for not only the senior year in high school, but again, for beyond into the college setting. Next slide. How to apply. Well, the application is obviously happening right now. Like I was saying, you do it during your freshman year. To apply, you're going to be submitting the following information. There, you will go to our website, which we'll have at the next slide. Student and parent or guardian will be filling out the information. There's different parts of the application that require being filled out by different folks. And the student will be writing 3 short answer essays or statements. And then there will be a letter of support by the parent or guardian. And then there's also a letter of support from a teacher, or a letter of recommendation being done by a teacher or a counselor. Then we also ask that you do a grade report. And again, these things are kind of spelled out in the application, or are definitely spelled out within the application process itself. One of the things that I do like to make sure I let people know is in the process of doing the application, just like doing your homework, this is something you want to try to get going and work on as soon as possible. It does take a little time, especially when you're asking folks like a counselor or a teacher to give you a letter of recommendation. You want to make sure that you get that request in as soon as possible so that they have a little bit of time to do that, and you're not running up until the last minute and trying to scramble to get those letters in before applications are due. Next slide. So the online applications are available currently. They opened on last week, and excuse me, the online application is at ita.wisc.edu. And again, here the applications are due no later than 5 p.m. on February 26th. So you've got a little bit of time, but again, the sooner you can get started, the better off you are, especially if you have questions or run into a hiccup with trying to get a letter from somebody, or sometimes people need a little bit longer time to write essays or write answers to things. So we really, really strongly recommend that folks do get those applications started and submitted as soon as possible. If you have any questions, obviously you can reach out to the email address below, which is applyita@doit.wisc.edu. And next slide. Before we get into questions, you can shoot Dion questions if you have any specific questions to the ITA Oneida experience. And you can go ahead and message, and then we can make sure that we have email sent out to you. And there's also the information that was sent out to everyone for this recruiting presentation and to all the counselors at all the schools did have Dion's contact information on it. So, but don't hesitate to ask for that again if you have questions. Now, I do see a question here in the chat: can parents chaperone to Silicon Valley? And the answer is no. We have staff that take the students up there. We've had a lot of parents that want to go. And if it makes you feel any better, I haven't been to Silicon Valley yet. All the other folks get to go and have a great time. And I'm typically back working on other things. But yeah, it's just students and staff for that trip. So Brandon, are there other questions?
Another question we received is, what if kids are playing sports?
That's a very good question, and that is a question that we get asked quite regularly. It's really a situation where we want to, again, make sure that we can try to work with whatever our students' schedules are. But there are most definitely times where students wind up having conflicts with sporting events and for instance, having to attend an ITA session. And my bottom line to folks is this: we will do anything we can, everything we can, within reason, obviously, but everything we can to make the schedule accommodating for the student. But there are going to be certain requirements that we have of students that they do need to participate, and they do need to make sure that they get their work done. And for our in-person meetings, we have had students that have had conflicts with sporting events. Sporting events, as per our policy, are not considered an excused absence, but we also, again, understand that students do have things that they are involved in and want to attend. The one advantage to having two different sites between Lac Flambeau and Oneida is that oftentimes our students will choose to go to the other site if they have a conflict. So if you're attending ITA Oneida and you realize that you've got an upcoming event that conflicts with the weekend that we're supposed to be meeting, you do have the option of going up to Lac Flambeau and attending session that weekend up there, which is typically the weekend after our Oneida sessions. We do have students that do that in both sites. Actually, we have students in Lac Flambeau that have come down to Oneida because they have a conflict with their standing schedule in Flambeau, and vice versa. We have students in Oneida that go up to Lac Flambeau because they have a standing conflict with whatever our schedule is for our cohort meeting that weekend. So for students that are involved in sports, we do ask that you understand that our course requirements are pretty specific, and we do get the calendars out to everybody ahead of time. But if there is just an absolute, there's no way they're getting around it, students do have to try to get that work made up. And typically we do figure out a way to make it happen, but it's not considered an excused absence, for instance, if you miss an entire cohort weekend and can't make it up. Other questions?
Another question we're seeing is letters of rec. Is it only one, or are we requiring more than one?
There's actually a form that's in the application. It's typically one person, letter of recommendation. So we do have parents that are really diligent about wanting to get their student more than one letter of recommendation. And we actually have students that are wanting to get more than one letter of recommendation, but we only do require one per student.
When are dates going to be posted for the summer session?
Well, I can answer that as best I can right now. In all honesty, our summer session dates are in the process of being worked out as we are meeting. However, I will say that those dates will not be released yet, probably until March or early April, just because our meetings are going to be very dependent on what the overall university policy is going to be for meeting face-to-face, and then obviously what our community policies are as well. But we'll make sure that as things are going on, we're going to be keeping people posted. I can say that generally and typically our meeting times for the Oneida community for summer sessions, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, tend to fall the last 2 weeks in June. So that's the general timeline that I can tell you. Last 2 weeks in June is typically our meeting times for our Oneida community. And our meeting times in July, for those of you that are saying, well, we may have something going on in June, can we attend the other one, are typically the second and third weekends in July. Or I'm sorry, second and third weeks in July. But the actual specific dates, we will release as soon as we get that information for what the overall summer schedule is going to be allowed in both the communities that we're working as well as within the university system itself.
Okay, next question. Are students responsible for paying for damaged equipment?
Very good question. If it is indeed an accident, students are typically asked to pay for half of the damage. There are some extenuating circumstances. There are some things that person has absolutely no control over, and that is kind of looked at as on a case-by-case basis. But if somebody accidentally knocks a computer off a table, or has a younger sibling that decides to use it as a frisbee or something like that, which has happened, typically what we do is we ask the student and family to pay for half of the replacement cost. Now, another thing that I would like to say in regards to those computers is that we do the vast majority of our repair work and upgrades and that sort of thing in-house. And so we try to keep costs to an absolute minimum for everybody involved.
On the application requirement, students should answer, is the question provided by us, or are the questions free for the students to create?
That's another great question. The applications have question prompts on them. So there will be, each section has a question prompt, and then the students are asked to answer that question. And it's general enough that folks are allowed to talk about themselves and their connection with the program in broad terms. But yeah, there are prompts for each question.
How soon would we be told if we have been accepted into the program?
Well, Marcia, do you want to take this one on with the deadlines?
I sure can. So once the application closes in March, there is a processing time that our staff will endure, and we will let students be notified if they are invited to the next step, which is an interview. And that will happen actually at the beginning of April. Around April 7th or 8th is when students are notified if they're being invited in for an interview. And then soon after that, all final notification is sent out to students. I want to say around May 11th or May 12th. Mm-hmm. But I will confirm that students and all applicants will be given a timeline as we get closer to the application deadline. So you don't have to worry about remembering it right now. We will communicate that out to all of our applicants. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for answering, Marcia. Any other questions?
When are the questions going to be available to students, like the application questions?
They are on the application themselves. So as soon as you click and start setting up your account for that application, you'll be able to go on in and take a look at what those questions are and start answering them. So the applications are currently live and available to start filling out, and they're or in the application itself.
I'm not seeing any more questions, but does anybody have any questions? Oh, what is involved in an interview? What does the interview process entail?
That's a great question as well. So just so everyone knows, we have a interview committee or a panel, and it's typically 2 or 3 people, staff members of ITA in the tribal sites, but also typically a community member or somebody else who's involved in the process in the communities that we're working. So what happens is that students are given about a 15-minute block of time. It's pre-scheduled. When you send in your application and then you're chosen for an interview, you get a schedule as to when you'd be meeting with us. And you come in, you will meet with the interviewers. It is both student and guardians. And they ask questions to both the student and the guardian about their interest in the program, why they're interested in the program. I won't give you all the questions ahead of time, but it's really not that painful a process. And we just like to get a better idea of who the students are and who their families are. And so it's a quick process. And once that in-person interview takes place, then you'll be getting notified within about a week after the interview as to what the next step is. That's a good question. Thank you.
I am
Any other
currently not seeing any more questions, but if anybody has any questions, this will be a great time to ask. Or if there's anything that anybody wants to add.
Yeah, if there's anything else staff-wise that we missed or you want to make sure that we touch base on, please don't hesitate to add in.
Hi there again. I just wanted to add in again that sometimes annually students will not sure if this is a program that they're interested in, or they're just kind of on the fence with it. We encourage you to apply. You can always, if you decide that this is not something that you're wanting to do, you can always withdraw your application. But once that application window closes, February 26th, that's the end of the opportunity to apply. So definitely do yourself a favor. If you're even like maybe 10% thinking about it, go ahead and submit the application and go through the process. And while you're learning more about ITA and again, determining if it's a good fit for you, then you can make that final decision with your application already submitted. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Marcia. Yeah, and I would say the same thing. I want to definitely piggyback on what Marcia was saying, is that this is one of those things that you're only eligible to apply for this program the spring of your freshman year. Once that deadline is passed, it's not something you can say, oh no, I changed my mind and apply in June or July or your junior year or anything like that. So it really is worth going ahead and filling out the application either way. And then if you change your mind, you can withdraw your application, but at least you'll have it and have it in if indeed you do decide you want to participate. So any other questions or anything else that staff want to make sure we didn't miss? All right, well, I guess then I will wrap things up since we're at the top of the hour. I want to thank everyone who did log in. I very much appreciate you spending the time and listening and hearing more about the program. I definitely want to thank all of our staff members that participated this evening in the Q&A and participated in giving the presentation. As this is being recorded, I know that there are going to be folks who are going to be viewing this at a later time and date. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us as per our email address and going to our website, ita.wisc.edu. And you can go ahead and find the application and further information about the program there, and can most definitely send emails to our email address there as well if you have any further questions or concerns or comments that you'd like addressed as you're going through the application process. So again, thank you all very, very much.
Chris?
Yeah. Yes, Deanna.
Can you go to the next slide, please? Because that has my contact information on it. If you should have any questions or concerns regarding the application, or you have more questions about the program itself, you can reach me by email, text, phone call. We can Zoom call, we can Teams call, we can Skype, possibilities are endless, but I just want to let you all know that I'm here to answer any of your questions. And that's all I have. And I look forward to meeting you all in the very near future. And I want to wish you the best of luck to you and your student.
Thank you for that, Dion. And again, thank you all for attending, participating. And I definitely want to give Brandon and Evangelina a shout out as our kind of behind the scenes tech folks tonight. And again, have a great evening. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you all very much for attending. And we'll look forward to seeing applications in the near future. Have a great night, everybody.